Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? Can we settle in? Everybody take a seat, relax, take it easy, have a little coffee, a little lunch. And I hope you enjoy this event. This Grading Symposium put on by the PNG, but sponsored by CAC, NGC, PCGS, and Universal Coin. And I'm going to turn it over to your Executive Director-elect, John Feigenbaum. The young fellow is taking over for the old man. So he starts now.
You bet there.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody, to the PNG's first ever moderated grading symposium. My name is John Feigenbaum, as Bob just said, and I'm here as the incoming Executive Director of the PNG. And today, we welcome to my right, Andy Salzberg of NGC and Stephanie Sabin of PCGS. Thank you both for coming. Both have some support staff with them, which they can introduce when we start talking. You should introduce your team. That would be great. This forum is intended to shine a positive light on the services provided by these companies and the benefits that they bring to the numismatic industry. We also have John Albanese, who I'm not sure if he can hear us, to be honest with you. We hope that we can hear him when he's on. Oh, he does hear. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So John is there attending, and some of the incoming staff members of CAC Grading are probably here as well. So afterwards, you may chat with them. So anyway, a sincere word of thanks for all these people for attending. Much of this came together at the last minute. So, it took a lot of legwork for us all to email and be patient and understanding of each other. But I think it's really great. I think it's a great sign of things to come. And, Tina Valenka, I would love to point you out really quick. She does all the heavy lifting at the PNG. Thank you, Tina. And also James Sego, who is on the board, who really did a lot of the coordination and the things. So James is over there in the white shirt. So without further ado, I don't know if Bob, did you acknowledge the sponsors today? If he didn't, I'm going to quickly just say again that NGC, PCGS, CAC Grading, and Mike Fulgens, kicked in extra for this event so that you guys could have something to eat before the show, and also to pay for this AV equipment, so on. So thank you all that. We can't do this without you. The PNG is not a wealthy organization, so it really depends on the supporters and the members, to keep doing what we want to keep doing. Anyway, personally, a quick word about myself. I recently agreed to take this role as the executive director from Bob Brueggeman, who has done an incredible job for decades at the PNG. So a quick word of thanks to Bob for everything he's done. There's some big shoes for me to fill. That's the truth of it. My role officially starts in August, so if you see me around, mostly I'm not making any executive decisions at this point. Please see Bob, and I'll talk to you later. I'm just taking notes right now. What else? So again, one last word about PNG. This is an incredible organization, and I think it's a diamond that we need to polish off a little more and do some more for. And the industry itself doesn't have an organization that the PNG stands for, and I think that's going to be my role as I take over here, is to really bring in inclusiveness with this group of people and try to get everyone involved, from dealers to museums to grading services to marketplaces. Anything that can be involved in coordinating and working within this industry. I think the PNG needs to be kind of an outreach center and do more with. And so that's where you're gonna see my focus, when I take over. And I'll even be talking to people in and around between now and then. So I know everybody wants to get to the fun show. The fun show, Tina tells me, starts officially at 2:00 today. So I guess no matter how fast we rush through here, they're not gonna open the doors until 2. But we'll, all that stands between us and the fun show at this point is this symposium. So let's just kick it off and get started. Anyway, the format of this event is I will present the participants here with several questions that I feel represent concerns and inquiries that we've had here at the PNG. But but I really encourage you guys to freewheel and speak on any topics you really want to go with. I mean, that's really, it's your microphone once I hand it over. So say whatever you want to tell us about, and I think everyone here wants to know what you think about the future and this year in the industry and where you think it's going and dreams and ideas that you have. So, take it wherever you want to take it. And unfortunately, John, who's on the screen, wasn't able to come in person, but we really do thank him for joining us on the Zoom call here. So right now, we'll start with Andy Salzberg of NGC. Thank you for joining us on stage. And did you want to introduce anyone as you are presenting?
I'd like to introduce Mark Salzberg, my father, and also the founder of Certified Collectibles Group.
Hi, everybody. My name's Stephanie Sabin. I have a few folks here that I want to introduce to all of you. One of the things that I keep hearing within the industry is we don't know who's at PCGS anymore, and so that's one of my main focuses here for you to get to know our leadership team just as well as I know them myself. We have Justin Adkins over here, Senior Director of Price Guide and CCE, Heather Boyd, our Senior Director of Marketing, Chris Demaray, our Senior Director of Sales, and Joe Pelago, our Director of Banknotes. We also have wonderful faces out in the crowd. I see Gordy back there, and of course, Kurt Meese, who handles all of our business development. And so really, I'm just excited to share with you those friendly faces. We work very closely together at PCGS, and they can be any of your lifelines to PCGS proper. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. That's a great introduction, and it is great to meet all these new faces in the industry. Andy, I'll start with you now. And, you and I spoke recently on our podcast, and we talked about the new NGCX. So people can watch that if they really want to dig in for a longer period of time. But today, I have some new questions for you. First, I want you to talk a little bit about your outlook for 2023 and what you think about in the coin market going forward this year.
Absolutely. Thanks, John. There's a lot of hard work and thought and discussion that went into NGCX. It was not taken lightly. We understand the importance of the 70-point scale, the Sheldon scale, that's been with us since for quite a long time now. But we really took a hard look at the long-term future of our hobby, and we really want to bring in a much broader audience, and we thought about all the other collectible categories and how their quality is assessed, and even just beyond collectibles. You think about a 10 is sort of synonymous with the best, and that it's kind of a universally understood scale. Obviously, we had to think through the details as far as how that's going to apply to numismatics and how that is currently being applied to things like comics, sports cards, trading cards, stamps, a number of different categories. And, so that was really, at the end of the day, it was that simple. That was our goal, was to bring in new blood into the hobby. And our expectations are not that it just transforms the hobby overnight. In fact, the participants in the program, I actually told them I hope that there isn't a giant flood of coins day one with 2023 Silver Eagles. I really wanted people to think about how they approach a new audience, how they market to them. This wasn't something that we were looking at short term. We were really looking for the long term. And so in terms of our outlook for 2023, I'm as cautiously positive as I can be. I mean, taking the sort of macroeconomic outlook into consideration, there are obviously some pressures, interest rates, etc. But I think our hobby has a ton of new interest in the hobby. I mean, you've seen really high-end rarities go through the roof. And I'm hoping with some more innovation, some more new product development, the help of the digital side of our ecosystem. I'm really excited about 2023 and the next 3 to 5 years. I'm really optimistic about. I don't know if you wanted to add anything. Okay.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. You answered every question I already had lined up. As far as 2023 is concerned, yeah, I think that it's clear to me as someone who spends most of my time in pricing that the coins didn't benefit in the same crazy way that other things benefited. Let's say NFTs is an easy target, or modern sports cards, or things like that. That the prices went haywire, and you knew when the prices went up too fast that the danger. And I always watch rare coin pricing, and I always worry considerably that what goes up will come down, and often it's these wild mood swings. So I thought that coins didn't appreciate in the same manner that these other hobbies really did. I mean, we're not just that popular. We're not on ESPN every night being talked about. We don't have the personalities attached really in our field. So everything went up nicely in coins and really didn't suffer so far, like in the way that we've seen some of these other collectibles. Although, I have talked with, other people in the field. I was talking with, I think, Jim Halpern the other day, and we talked about his message to me was sort of along the lines of, the $1 million collectible items or more, whether it's cards or coins or whatever, are still holding in there pretty well. So, how we get through 2023 and its effect with interest rates and things like that, I mean, for sure, it'll be interesting. I don't think anybody can say it's going to go up despite every other trend. And it won't. I mean, I can tell you already, I see some subtle changes in pricing, but it's nothing crazy and it's safe. So anyway, I think that's one of the great things about the coin business. Stephanie, you want to jump in at this point?
For 2023, collectors as a whole is very excited for what the industry has, whether that's in whatever vertical of your choice or your liking. One thing that I will say is that our motto, our company tagline is helping collectors pursue their passion. So we're building from the ground up. We're building a lot more digital technology solutions to really bring the world of collecting at your fingertips. And that's really where the collector's focus is for the past year and also as we move forward into 2023. In terms of the coin, numismatic, and banknote hobby, I think one of the biggest challenges we have is really trying to keep the longevity of the hobby going. As you guys know, bringing in new demographics and being interested in, NGCX, or finding a way for folks to be able to also participate in a market that they might not be very, used to, or they don't know enough about. So the one thing that collectors, and specifically PCGS, is really striving to do is provide those educational resources and really helping grow our YN program, attending more shows, and really giving, face essentially, so that we can also share what we know so that the collectors demographic will grow as well. So we're very excited for 2023. We have a lot of exciting things that we can't wait to share with all of you.
Fair enough. It's your opportunity if you'd like to. Well, thank you. And those are great answers. And of course, you stole all my next questions again. So, I would say that one thing that has been asked on, and I can ask both of you the same question, your success as both of your companies means more submissions, more backlogs, and people have asked us about that. So if I could ask you, are you guys developing further systems to really, communicate with customers so they know exactly where things are at in their food chain as things are being graded? But if you could just speak to that for a couple minutes.
Yeah, so when Steve Feigenbaum tasked me with, really taking on the leadership position for NGC, obviously we really have to focus on first the fundamentals, in my opinion, and that's customer service, turnaround times, the consistency and accuracy of the grading, and the quality of the product. So that's like got to be kind of foundational. If we build on top of a wayward foundation, we're not going to get to where we want to go. So it was really leveraging our new ownership structure with Blackstone and bringing in the best and the brightest in their fields, whether it be logistics or process improvement or technology, to map out where we can improve. We are not perfect. We recognize that we're not perfect, but it doesn't mean we're not going to strive for the absolute best that we can be. And we've done some incredible things internally to, I'll give you one example. We brought in a consulting group that helped us map out our shortcomings from a process perspective, and we realized how poorly we were doing from an international turnaround time perspective. And we actually broke out an entirely new international line to help support those submissions. And we saw our turnaround times on the international side go from somewhere around 50 days to 20. And that was just by leveraging Blackstone's reach, their incredible access that they provided us, and getting all the right minds in the room to find where we can do better. And that's just one example. There are many to come, but we are really, really focused on the core fundamentals, like I had mentioned previously. And we recognize that there are backlogs in certain categories. And so that's why we're trying to still, it's sort of a constant search for the best and the brightest in the industry. We want the most talented graders grading and working for us, the best numismatists, the most passionate people that we can find. So it's really a combination of all those things that are where we're looking to drive improvement. So that's what I get.
Thanks, Andy. We're doing a lot of the exact same things that Andy's talked about. One of the things that I'm very proud of is through this new restructuring at Collectors, through Collectors Holdings, we've been able to take time to focus on our core businesses and also really be able to scale our business for the growth that we project over the next few years, not just in this vertical, but in many others. We're very blessed that we have the juggernaut that is PSA on our side, and they've kind of helped us troubleshoot to get us to where we want to be, whether it's with automation, better systems and processes, etc. We've also done a lot of the same type of analysis just so that we can provide the best service to all of you and to collectors out there. Our biggest, obviously with the rise in demand that we're seeing, especially on the world side, we're trying to take it all in stride. One of our other collectors' values is to make sure that we get it right and to treat everything like it's special. And what happens with that is that sometimes it does take a little bit longer, but we'd rather get things right than to speed it up and deliver a unsatisfactory product to each one of you. Now, I'm not saying that we're not without, errors and issues happen, of course, but we're also trying to really onboard the next group of numismatic experts and train them and cultivate that internal and even external talent that we find. And that does take a little bit of time. And so thank you all for your patience as we work to make our core business the best that it can be. But we have a lot of improvements ahead of us. In fact, we're seeing improvements in turnaround times on a weekly and monthly basis. So things are looking up, but we definitely still have a lot more work to do.
There's one other important thing that I forgot to mention that is in terms of an investment in the fundamentals that I mentioned, it's our ERP system. We are implementing a new ERP system. It is a massive investment, but it's the right thing for the business. It will take time to implement. We're very far along in the process, thankfully, but we know we have issues with our billing. We know that. We've gotten enough feedback to know that. So there are a number of things that our ERP is intended to address, along with coupling that with a really robust digital strategy and an investment in our digital experience. And making we have so much content on our sites that are seldom people even see because they can't find it. So we recognize those shortcomings and have to fix them. So.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, both of those responses were fantastic. And I think the thing that I think of the most is that it's just great that you're up here talking about it. I think that is most of the battle. In terms of technology, I mean, I watched that whole Southwest Airlines debacle last week, and I kept thinking to myself, this is why I spend way too much money on software at the Gray Sheet, because my bills are one of our business, line item expenses at Gray Sheet is we're always like 2 years ahead, at least in my mind, I'm hoping, for what we're developing. And you can see where the pain points are when this airline, failed to, modernize their technology 5 years ago when they should have. And it's terrible. So I applaud you for that. And I thank you for the answers. So some final little questions to add to the end of our go back and forth, and then we'll turn over to John Albanese if we didn't lose him to the black screen. Yeah. But anyway, in the meantime, so there's been some wishful thinking and some hope from the community that celebrity would add value to these acquisitions and the bigger teams that you're working with. I mean, we certainly know you both rub elbows with some famous people and famous investors, or, people who actually cross over in some ways, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or something like that. I know his name is present in the numismatic community, and I keep thinking, wow, he'd be great on the cover of the Gray Sheet. But, can you have any thoughts about that and where it might go, or is this kind of a red herring?
It's a red herring. No, I'm just kidding. So, nothing is off the table. We had to do a lot of infrastructure, resource building before we could sort of engage in some of those activities, because we're so busy we weren't able to really manage it. We had all the business we could handle. We just wanted to provide a good turnaround time and a quality product. But we are starting to really assess the look, everybody in this world knows how a lot of marketing has turned to influencers and how many Instagram followers you have, but we're really trying to find the people that will be great brand ambassadors for us, that really are passionate about the hobby. They understand the hobby. They are aligned with our core values, and so nothing is off the table. And I've had discussions as recent as this week with our marketing team about some of those things that you mentioned.
Same. I keep echoing your sentiment. So yes, we're always looking for an influencer type or something of that nature to kind of make numismatics mainstream, right? And developing those relationships does take time, but we definitely hope to have a couple of surprises throughout 2023 and beyond. So definitely top of mind. Nat Turner, who is our CEO of Collectors, has a lot of folks that we hope to be able to get involved outside of even just sports cards and really join on into the coolest hobby.
It could be a case of be careful what you wish for. One of the things I think is great about the numismatic hobby is that it is relatively controlled in our size, and I like, again, for the same reasons I don't like price spikes. I don't really know that we want a huge influx of new buyers. It can be dangerous, but that's just me. Anyway, next question, and you'll know that I wasn't the one creating all these questions with this next one, because as the pricing editor at the Gray Sheet, I'm here to ask you how you manage your price changes at your respective companies.
So it's definitely challenging. I mean, we are actively and been looking at the way that we approach pricing and how we leverage technology. It's a very manual process right now. Our price guide, to be frank, is not where we want it to be. Some prices are far too high, some are too low, and that is literally because we're doing the work complete manually. We have people that are looking at auction results on several different marketplaces. They're looking at prices realized all over the place. They're taking in all of this data, and then out comes a number, and sometimes that number is again too high, too low. But we're also exploring potential partnerships and ultimately a solution that is far less manual, more automated, much more accurate, and something much more reliable, frankly. But it's a very difficult, nuanced challenge for us to fix, and I'm wondering if Mark, if you had any comments on this one.
It's tough. Pricing? You know what we charge? Oh, yeah. It's I wanted to comment on the fact that our marketplaces are traditional in a sense. If you have coins, comics, currency, and stamps, for example, these traditional markets are pretty stable in the sense that you don't have the fast money that happened with COVID and low interest rates. So I talked to John about this a lot. There's a real science to and an art to pricing, and it's supportive of every category, right? If we started grading stamps, if you had a price guide, instantly you have support for that new vertical. So it's hand in hand, and there's so many things that there's so many moving parts that they mentioned up here that we were fraying at the seams over at Certified Collectibles Group, and that was why we brought in. I made the decision to bring in start the process of talking to sponsors, and finally wound up with Blackstone. They're an excellent partner because they have incredible resources, and they actually can get things implemented, and they see things from a different point of view. So the investments that they've made are long-term, and I feel really, really good about them. But again, you have to keep in mind that we are a long-term kind of collectible. It's not like you can price something today and say you can flip it in a week or a month or a year. People ask me all the time, what should I invest in? Well, if you're going to invest in coins, you better have a long-term horizon here, and you have to have a dealer or an expert that can guide you. And that brings me back to the PNG. Like, what is the focus of PNG? Not to get too crazy and out of line here, but the PNG should be the best of the best. We should be vetted, and we should be supportive of each other, and we should have practices that really support the industry and good ethical business practices. And all of these things are taken into account. And so when it comes to pricing, it all distills down to that. And it's very, very important to have a price guide that is wholesale, a price guide that's retail, and then how is that defined, right? In my mind, retail can be anything that's a 30% spread. I've always said that, and so and things are generic, and things are actually scarce. So it sounds long-winded here, so I'll stop.
Thank you very much for that contribution.
Thanks, guys. So at PCGS, we have two price guide teams. We have an international price guide team and a domestic. Our international is composed of 11 people. Domestically, we have 5 people. Those 5 people manage about 350,000 prices over 50,000 coins. So it's not easy. As Andrew said, it's complicated. Our primary job is to not hinder a sale. We don't want to be the reason a coin didn't sell on the market. So our team is comprised of a lot of names that you guys are familiar with. Mark Ferguson has been there the longest, or not with us the longest, but in the industry the longest, 50 years. He started at Trends in the 90s, worked at Trends, Coin World. He's been with us for almost 2 years at PCGS. Vic Bozart is another name that's pretty familiar with this audience. He's been in the industry about 35 years. And he's been at PCGS actually longer than I have. So, and then there's Jaime Hernandez. He's been in coins 24 years. He worked for David Hall 17 years, I believe he's been at PCGS. So he's another asset that we have that we rely on. And those guys try to hit every category every 3 months. We have coin facts that gets updated. We have APR database that gets updated. All that information is brought into I call it CCE on steroids, a single point where we can look at every single auction real time. As it gets scraped into our system, the price guide team can see where coins traded relative to the price guide and can move to where they need to. If it's Washington quarters, maybe are a little too high. They can see that on the screen that Washington quarters need to be addressed. And it's just like John, technology is a big part of what we have. It's impossible to price everything right all the time. We use input from dealers, a lot of dealers in this room. And, we have a general email address, coinprices@collectors.com. You can always email it. It will get to everybody on the team. And we're happy to talk to anybody and everybody in this room. Kind of an open book. And as John knows, I'll return the phone call normally. Yeah, and like Stephanie said earlier, we're all around at this show all week. And if you have a question, if it's about bullion, if it's about bulk, if it's about banknotes, we are here for you because we want to see the hobby succeed. My dad was a PNG member until he retired from the business. My father-in-law is still a PNG member. I think it's important that we, as a industry, kind of come together sometimes and look forward because we have to. And we're going to have to find that happy middle ground that maybe wasn't always there, but it needs to be there now.
That's a fantastic message, and I'll just use that as a shameless plug for ourselves too. Maybe another symposium at some point is for Patrick Perez, who's here in the audience and does pricing with me, is that that our three teams maybe do a symposium, because it occurs to me that nobody really knows how we get there. And I'm not shy about talking about how we get to pricing and how our philosophy is. And if I publish articles and Patrick writes about, people really don't digest that information directly. But if we had a symposium where we were talking about pricing and we could share amongst ourselves, I don't feel like we all really compete in that same way. I think it's better if we share and communicate on pricing. Right. And we are wholesale based generally, and we derive a retail number based on, we have a different philosophy for what our numbers represent. And people should really know that, why they're different and what that represents. So anyway, thank you for the considerate answer. The last question I have for your teams is about counterfeiting and keeping up with this kind of, the onslaught that will never end, and how you're dealing with that. It would scare the heck out of me in terms of certification. And John, you might speak to this as well when you do it, as how are you working to prevent, or you'll never prevent it, but to stem this problem of counterfeit?
Thank you. So detecting counterfeits is a combination of a number of things, and first of all, our guarantee is, the strongest in the industry. But really it comes down to finding the greatest numismatic minds that we can find. But it also comes down to technology and investments in technology. So we're looking at some pretty exciting things right now that I think will pay dividends in the future. But it's really a combination of those two things. It's the expertise and the experience that you cannot replace. I know I've talked to Mark 100 times about this, about how he can look across the room and see, a $10 gold piece and go, that's fake. And I'm like, how did you know that? And just years and years of looking at coins and seeing the right or the wrong look. Doesn't have the right luster. It's too washed out for that date. So we have those people. And when we screw up, we own up to it. And there's a healthy amount of payments that have gone out. But we're trying our best to, that number has gone down consistently, and so we're really happy about that. But we have to do even better, and so that's going to take people and technology. There's really no other way to go about that. But I'm curious, Mark, if you have anything to add on that. Good, great.
Once again, echoing Andy's statements here, it's definitely people and technology. And also, too, I think there's a collaboration element amongst numismatists that needs to happen to where we share what we're seeing in the market. I mean, the counterfeits that are coming to us are just getting better and better. And so what can we do? It is providing our grading team with, assets and also just resources for them to research and take the time. I do think that there is an element of time that also has to come into play here, mainly because it's not one thing fits all. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio when you're talking about counterfeit detection and talking about the amount of product that we get through our door every single day. But I do think that with a little bit of technology support and definitely people and sharing amongst ourselves what we're seeing in the market, we'll be able to at least keep a cap on that stuff as much as we can. But really, those counterfeiters are getting so good, and it's taking our team a significant longer time period on grading each piece to make sure that it is genuine, just because some of those Chinese counterfeits are just too darn good. But yeah, people and technology.
Yeah, that's actually a great point that you make in terms of like leveraging the incredible number of numismatic minds that we have and the experience and the passion in this industry. We have developed this incredible network of consultants, friends, people that just want to help us. So when we have a question on a coin, when it's like we're not quite sure, we've got people that we can call, and they're and they're willing to help. But we have to come up with a better, to Stephanie's point, something more sustainable than that. Than picking up the phone and calling somebody would be. We have a bunch of counterfeiting content, counterfeiting detection content on our site, but there's got to be a more systematic way that this industry can come together to help shut some of those things down, or detect them.
I agree. I mean, that collaboration seems to me, sitting here, not someone who spent a lot of time thinking about counterfeits and things like that, is that you guys communicating seems like it would be a huge benefit. And if the PNG or our subsidiary organization can support in that way, that's what we should do, right? We should work together to make sure no one wins if anyone gets hurt and it's in publicly and there's counterfeit coins proliferating. That's just a black eye for this industry. So we really should all be working together in that regard. So, well, at that point, thank you for all of this great forum. I think it's going on really well, and I appreciate everything you've said. At the end, I'm going to bring John into the conversation now. John, can you hear me? Are you good? Thank you for joining. Appreciate you very much that you were able to do that and sitting patiently while we had our conversation. So I'm just going to jump in and now ask you quite simply about your vision for CAC grading coming forward. Everybody has questions about what your thought process is and what you're doing, when you're going to start, and so on.
Okay. As far as starting goes, we're looking at the end of hopefully the end of the first quarter, and all sorts of issues with supply chain, just like everyone else, and disruptions. Our plastics manufacturers had, our office has been shut down 4 separate weeks because of COVID. Can we only drive?
I hear you, but you're a little loud, so we're going to adjust this very quickly. Hold 1 second, John. Okay, go ahead and say something else. Testing.
Yeah, so we're hoping for the end of the first quarter.
Good.
And we're gonna start out with a soft launch. Can you hear me now, John?
Excellent. Go ahead.
We're going to start out with a soft launch, which is really just essentially just the partners and the shareholders able to submit coins for a few weeks so we can, work out the kinks. And at that time, after the soft launch, we're then going to open it up to current CAC members. I think there's about 3,000 of them, and the current CAC members will keep the same submission number and same accounts. There will be a new application process because it's a separate corporation, a new submitter agreement. And after we sort of get our sea legs under us, and we at least have an idea of our capacity, we will then open up our wait list. We have a long wait list, and we expect probably in the coming years to continue a wait list, because our goal is for the best turnaround time possible for our current members. So that's in the plans for next year. Right now, again, though, we're working on the basics. We're obviously at a big disadvantage. The other two services are obviously ingrained in the system. We're working on photography, registry, software. We're sort of starting from ground zero. I think one thing I think we can contribute, and maybe I'm hoping the other services would contribute as well, is we are planning on having, really the crux of our marketing is going to be education, and we're going to probably have, I would say, let's say 1 year from today, at the next year's coin show, we hope to have over 1,000 coins of our grading set displayed at the fun show. And, I would love for the other services to, as a friendly, I'm just putting out there as a friendly challenge, I would love for them to compete. I would love for them to have 2,000 coins in their grading sets. And I think, John, a lot of the talk out there is how coin shows are dying. Collectors have no reason to go to the show. They can buy on the internet. But can you imagine if the grading services, and if you combine ANAX and ICG there as well, can you imagine if there were 5,000 coins out there and master grading sets for collectors to view? Most collectors I speak to, again, if you took a poll of, let's say, the first 1,000 collectors that walk through the fun show, I mean, I'm sure they're all going to tell you, for the most part, what they want to have grading services. They want consistent grading, obviously. They want a tamper-proof holder, anti-counterfeit holder, all the bells and whistles, but also they also want to learn. They don't just want to buy a coin blindly. They sort of, I believe that an educated customer has much more endurance in terms of, as we know. I mean, I know collectors since I was 13, 14 years old. Some are probably the audience that they've been in business for that long, and and that they've educated themselves. So if we can help educate the collector, I think that's really going to be the crux of our marketing. And along those lines as well. And I like your opinion, not just John, but the audience. I mean, there are different thoughts out there today. For example, there's a major authority that wrote a Seated Liberty, a book on Seated Liberty dollars, and he feels that they should be graded by the reavers. That's contrary to what I believe, but I have an open mind to that. But I also notice I see coins today. I see seated halves in fine or VF without full liberty, and to me as a kid, that was always like the basic tenet of a coin being fine was full liberty. And I spoke to John Butler about it last week, and he mentioned that sometime, maybe 20 years ago with the grading room at PCGS, they decided that there are certain coins that have full VF detail, but only have a few letters of liberty. And again, if that's the case, let's publish it. Let's show photographs. Let's educate the public, because I find to be kind of confusing. I speak to a lot of collectors that are confused. I really do think that we should emphasize. And again, I'm all for the software, the registries, all the other bells and whistles. But I think the basics are grading, right? And again, we've been as you know, we've been criticized by our tough grading, John. But I believe that that's our basic philosophy, is that we want to grade coins for the dealers. Let's say the PNG dealers, the retail dealers, so that when their client wants to sell the coins back to them, they would welcome that. And that's really that's the crux of the matter. I have notes all over my desk, but I don't want to.
Okay. Well, so thank you for that answer. And I guess my next question is CAC grading going to be then as tough? Is this a no-brainer of a question that is going to be as tough as you're considered as a stickering company? Because that is the reputation.
Yeah, and again, I disagree with that. I mean, in the last few years, we've had this amazing bull market. And as you know, in bull markets, grading tends to be more forgiven. and basically anything goes. I'm not sure the market's going to be that great. It could be 2 years from now. If there's a bear market, our grading will look some tough, right? But I sort of disagree with the question, with the premise. I have a well-known grader. We have this argument about cabinet friction, and right now we're doing an experiment. And he's had a BU Walker Liberty half in his pocket for almost 90 days, and it's still BU. Okay, so this whole notion of cabinet friction, of this coin's a 63 with light cabinet friction, it was sliding around a cabinet for a few days. That's nonsense. I mean, this coin's been in this guy's pocket. This guy's 200 pounds of basically solid muscle. It's been in his pocket for 3 months, and it's still choice BU. So I don't really want to hear about this MS64 with cabinet friction, right? So again, I don't think it's up. I just think it's truthful.
So he's walking around with silk pajamas, is what you're saying?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so we'll move on to that. Interesting answer. What about plus grades? Is CAC grading going to recognize plus grading?
Yes. Again, I'm not pleased about it. I think it's sort of ingrained in the system. I've always felt that in order to improve consistency, we should shrink the amount of grades. By adding the plus, we've essentially doubled the amount of grades. I have a problem with that, but I believe that we have to do the plus now because it's been successful. It works for the registry, and there are certainly a lot of coins, high spread coins like a 25S or 28S PFL or 64 to 65 with a multiple of 20 to the next grade. There's certainly a need for a plus on a coin like that. But again, my concern is that there's too many grades, and I heard that Gordy Rubel's in the audience. He's been grading longer than all of us, and I got to tell you, like right now, I'm building grading sets, and I have in front of me today 50 or so 3-cent nickels circulated for grading sets, and I got to tell you, John, I mean, we talk about VF, we got a 20, a 25, a 30, a 35. I mean, I can get there on a 20. I can get there on a coin that just makes VF. I can see a coin that almost makes XF. That's 2 VFs that we need, and we need 1 in the middle. But between a 25 and 30, I would challenge anyone in that room, if you have AI or whatever fancy lingo you have, I don't see a need for a 25 and 30. I think I would love to have the grading services reach a consensus, like, let's just use one of those grades, or let's pick something in the middle. But, my point is, I think we have to go back to basics. When I was a kid, there were fewer grades, and there were tens of thousands of collectors that would go to the coin shows and could grade as good as any dealer because it was simple, right? And I think that they were highly engaged. And now you go to shows, and really probably 98% of the collectors, they look at a coin and the holder, and they just don't know. And 98% of them just have to take our word for it. Right? I think there's less comfort in that. I think a customer who's knowledgeable, who feels he knows how to grade, is most likely to be a larger collector, a guy like Steve Ducker, right? I think a guy like Stuart Blay, very important. So again, I would love to see a way of maybe having fewer grades. And I'd like to talk to grading services about that at a later date. It's not just the VFs, but there's a 50 and a 53. And I've told many of our collectors, like, if you have a CAC 50 and it gets with the 53 holder, I mean, most of them are going to sticker. It's sort of interchangeable. Right? 60 and 61, kind of interchangeable. We have VF grades, interchangeable. There's 2A grades. So I think having the plus, adding more grades, I think it's a mistake.
Okay, so you are adding it, but you think it's a mistake. It's a situation where the market is saying, we want these pluses, and as someone who does pricing all the time, I can tell you it is just a nightmare. All these different grades for everything, especially when you figure Morgan dollars, and you've got proof like and deep meat mirror proof like or VAMs, and you got you got thousands of prices for the same coin. It's crazy.
Sure.
But, I, for one, would be an advocate for not having plus grades, but I'm not in this business personally. Anyway, so you checked on that. And then finally, this kind of goes back to your opening conversation about, collectors and knowledge. So you've told me you're a big advocate of die varieties, which is also kind of something that's, I think, has been lost in certification since '86. We've probably seen a steady decline in collectors who do die varieties because people don't really touch the coins the same way as they did in the good old days. So how do you feel? How do you feel about that?
And again, I think it was misconstrued our conversation, but I was really in my entire coin career one of those guys that could really care less about that. Really, I would never collect coins by VAM numbers. It would just seem to me to be too tedious. However, jumping into this new project, I have spoken to a half dozen or so of our members that do collect die varieties, and they're extremely passionate. And I realize that we're definitely missing the boat. And we have on tap. We have some great resumes. About to make a great hire for die varieties, and we're going to go all in. I hope to be a category killer in die varieties in a few years.
Okay.
Well, I should say, PNG meaning.
Maybe NGC and PCGS will have something to say about that. But
I hope so.
Yeah, no, I know you do. Well, and that really sums up my questions. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about the market. You didn't say anything about market outlook. You want to?
Well, I'm not really about the market outlook. I think we're going to have a challenge here, but we spent a lot of time on pricing. And I got to tell you, I mean, when we did our budgeting for our CAC, some of the shareholders talked about adding several employees for pricing. I personally, I just don't. I'm happy to turn it over to CDN and have an independent price guide. It's much easier for us. It's cheaper. It's arm's length. I think it's the way to go. I'm not just giving you that plug, but if it were you or if it was CoinRule, anyone, I think personally that the grading services should not be in the business of pricing their own coins. Just my personal opinion.
Okay. Well, thank you for that plug. We appreciate that. Anybody wants to buy pricing from CDN, now you know where to come. But thank you, and that sums up our interview with John. Just so you know, John, but I wanted to pass it back to you both if you wanted to comment on anything, or if there's anything you wanted to add to the conversation as we close out.
Yeah, I mean, thank you all for coming. I mean, the turnout was incredible. But I also just wanted to let you guys know that Mark and I will be around to answer questions, talk to people. We're available. And obviously, you'll see many people from NGC around the show. But we aren't a business unless our customers are successful. So we're not successful if you guys aren't successful. So, we want to be around to provide transparency, answer any questions that you might have. I certainly will stick around and be available, but just appreciate the support from the PNG and hopefully vice versa. You guys appreciate what we've done for the PNG, and that will continue. And I'm couldn't be more optimistic about the next several years. We've got a lot of work to do, but I'm a weirdo and I enjoy the work. So thank you guys again, and certainly appreciative of this entire crowd. So
thank you. I want to thank you all as well. This is I hope, the beginning of a improved relationship with the PNG. So thank you all very much. Likewise, the PCGS staff, we're always here to help, and we want to make sure that we're answering any questions that you have and being transparent. So myself and our team will all be around on the show floor. Feel free to come on up and ask us any questions that you have. PCGS, we have a really positive outlook for 2023, and we hope to bring a lot of really great new programs and services to you over the next course of the year. And like I said, we're around if you need anything. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Beth. Yeah, round of applause, please, for our attendees. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Hopefully, this is just the beginning of what you'll see more of here at the PNG. If you are a member, please go out and help us, add to our membership and get more people to join us, because this, we're on a mission to unify this hobby in the most positive manner and bring the best light forward for everyone. So thanks again for coming, and have a great, fun show, and we'll see you on the floor.